Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of In Conversation with You Journeys on UJTV. And I am Palisa Ramafola, your host. And today we're joined by someone really special who needs no introduction at all. South African politician and leader of Building One South Africa, Dr. Mmusi Maimane. And he recently completed his PhD here at our very own great University of Johannesburg. Dr. Maimane, welcome and congratulations on this, incredible milestone.
I still can't believe it. But what's even more so, I'm part of the Orange Army now. So Orange.
UJ all the way. UJ all the way. That is
Uh,
wonderful. So, let's just start here. This PhD, what did accomplishing this, and it ending in qualification obtained just mean for you personally? Rather, not just even personally, even on a professional note, what did it mean for you to get this PhD?
You know, the first thing to start off with is that as a child who grew up in Soweto, my mother wasn't able to finish school just as a function of what apartheid did. My father worked in a factory. So I don't come from a family of academics in that sense, yet both my parents are much smarter than me. And to have been able to grow up, and I started here at Raukol. They created this high school for students who they thought they wanted to bring through. And then to complete the journey here at UJ is an incredible achievement. It also, I think, if I'm honest, as a leader, leaders have an interesting journey in themselves. I'm yet to meet a leader who didn't at some point doubt themselves or doubt their own ability or anything like that. I think that's what courage is. Courage is being able to confront your issues regardless of your own worries. And so for me, that sense of accomplishment, not only for my own family, is a huge, because my parents sacrificed a lot. You don't get a PhD because you became someone invested in your primary school, someone invested in your ECD, someone invested in your high school. And my parents sacrificed a lot to get me the right foundations. Otherwise, there's no ways I'd be sitting here today with a PhD. So it means a lot to them. And then there's nothing like getting that letter that says you have fulfilled the requirements of a doctorate.
Yes.
There's nothing like that letter. Once you get it, you just get on your knees and thank God.
So what does it mean to you professionally as well? Like, why did you then decide at this point in my career or in my life, I have to get this PhD?
So in 2019, I left Parliament and I thought to myself, this is something I want to do. And so COVID then coincided with all of that. So I was doing my research thesis during COVID. But it gave me time to think. It gave me time. When you are making attempts to make a contribution to your country, my thesis was on local governance. And therefore, I needed to get moments to reflect on what it would take. I'd been a member of Parliament, took a break. So professionally, it's now bringing me back. I would think a lot more in depth in thinking about what are some of the issues that we need to address, what type of society do we want to build, but also particularly in a political space. I don't always like to define myself as a politician, but in a political space, there aren't too many PhDs, so you then put yourself in a small class of people where eventually you've got to say to yourself, we've got to add to the thinking, and I always maintain we've moved from freedom. Now the question is we got to talk about governance. So how do we govern in such a way that we're steeped in our thinking, we're able to contribute meaningfully? And so, I'd be a member of Parliament with or without a PhD, but having a PhD helps you just think better, just interrogate issues better, just contribute better. And hopefully also, if anyone has done an academic process, when you do high school, you learn to know what the right answer is. When you get to postgraduate, you start to ask questions about whether your right answer, as you define it, is that the only answer.
Sure.
Philosophy. And when you do a PhD level, you say, maybe I'm just thinking about this one aspect, but I realize that it's linked to so many other aspects. So
sure.
So President Motlanthe once said to me, allow yourself to question yourself. You questioned others, allow yourself to question yourself so that you are able to think deeply about the issues that you're working through. So that's what it's meant for me.
That's interesting. And I think, so in undergrad, I actually did public management and governance. So I was rocked by the same academic boat that you were in. And I'm just thinking, I know I'm curious, and I'm sure others are curious as well, your thesis. What was this thesis about, and what was that topic, and why was it so important to you, especially now that you talk about, questioning yourself?
Sure. It wasn't an autoethnographic study that looks at the journey of 4 metros. So I looked at Johannesburg, I looked at Tshwane, I looked at Gqeberha, and I looked at Cape Town. I asked the question, how does political leadership intersect with governance? Because if you look at Johannesburg as an example, I think Joburg has had 8 mayors in as many years, just about. It feels like if you're tired of one mayor, just wait 3 months, another one is coming, so chill. So it's kind of like we live like that. So I wanted to ask the question, how do we make sure that politics, coalitions, and governance, how do we build a model and a framework so that we insulate governance from the political interference? And so it became a journey. I spoke to all the respective mayors who were mayors at the time. So I looked at a period between 2016 to 2019. I also interviewed, as part of my research participants, the city managers, and then began to say, how do we build a framework so that we can make recommendations that anyone who takes over a city today at least has a sense. And the metaphor I used mostly was a blank desk. When you one day become elected as mayor, let's argue, you will walk in and you'll find a blank desk. No one, the administration will have transitionally plans, but politically you won't have that. So I'm hoping the thesis will help future leaders be able to think through what are the questions I want to ask on day one so that I can apply the framework and then say, how do we govern better?
Wow.
Because if we fail that exercise, what eventually happens is that you have a mayor who spends a year trying to figure out what's going on, trying to understand things, and then you have an administration that carries on as it's always done, and then you don't create a shock to the system. You end up with the tail wagging the dog, as it were, or you end up with just the political leadership overwhelmed by what's coming. And I think cities matter. They matter, in my personal opinion, they matter more than provinces. I think provinces are sometimes a waste of time, if I'm honest, because they do concurrent functions with what national government does. But cities, your city matters. None of us live in a national. We live.
So true.
We live at an address in a city or in a municipality, and until we fixed or we've worked out intentionally, okay, hang on, let's fix our cities, I think South Africa will muddle through governance failures.
The sum is greater.
It matters. Joburg's budget alone is 89 billion rands that they would have tabled this year. That, in essence, is bigger. I'll check what the Gauteng provincial government is, but it's less relative to what Joburg does. So if you think about the 3 metros in Gauteng, Joburg, Tshwane, Ekurhuleni, their budgets are quite significant. So anyone who has the responsibility of that billions and billions of rands, I would argue, needs to be competent enough to be able to deliver against it.
True. That is a wonderful framework. One day I will read that thesis because as a PMG student, I'm itching. And it's so thought-provoking, But I think while we're still talking about parliament and politics, I know you're not really, on the hat of I'm a politician, but more, it's your journey. It's a part of your journey. But I guess as a member of parliament, you're also chairperson of the Standing Committee of Appropriations. And for those of us who may not know exactly why is that important, what is that, Doctor, we are your students. Take us to school. Let us know, what is all of this?
So our governance infrastructure says you've got an executive and you've got parliament, right? And then you've got the judiciary and the third arm of the state.
Yeah.
The Minister of Finance, as part of the executive, a bit makes a proposal. and that proposal is what we typically call budget. But it's only a proposal. He tables it, he or she would table it in Parliament. And then after that point, the only body that's designed in this country to pass any laws, including whatever is in the budget, is Parliament. And Parliament works on the back of committees. So the word appropriation sometimes can become too technical, but our job is, we are the budget committee. We take the budget and we sit down with it, and I look at, this is what's given to education, this is what's given to health, is it enough, is it not enough? I speak to the South African public, they give their inputs, I look to stakeholders, and we make those questions. And the law that governs how the budget is processed is called the Money Bills and Related Matters Act. And that act empowers Parliament to then actually say, can we amend? Because to my earlier point, the ministers only made a proposal. Can we amend? Can we reject? Can we adjust? Can we find money here? And so my job is to make sure that effectively the two big bills, which the first one is the Division of Revenue Bill, which is how do we allocate budget in the three spheres of government, nationally, provincially, and locally. And the last one is what is the Appropriations Bill, which is then effectively what monies get given to the national line functions. And there's 41 votes, starting with vote 1 being the presidency, and then 2 Parliament, and then it works its way down to health, education, all the functions of government. So my job is to make sure that that budget, if I give my mission, that budget is reflective of the interests of the people of this country.
Right.
And we empower Parliament to make the decision. Then Parliament comes back and says, we've heard from the Budget Committee, we think this is right, this is wrong. And the more we get into this, I think it's becoming more and more important for that, for the work that we do, to really think hard about this is really, like, for example, when I leave here, I have the Department of Home Affairs, and they will come and want to ask for money for different things because they're adjusting the Border Management Authority. So we look at things like that. So I ask the question, is this money performing, not is this money wasted?
Right.
Yeah. Because there are other, corruption and all of that, there are other bodies that deal with that. Mine is, if you say there's 100 rands into education, is it performing? Do we get 100% of the students to matric? What is it doing?
What's that ROI?
Basically. Does it work? And also to have a dialogue, a counterweight to the executive. Because if you leave everything to the executive, you and I, the people, are not represented in cabinet. We are only represented in Parliament. So if you said the Department of Higher Education, just think about UJ for 1 second, the Department of Higher Education is underfunded. And the students of UJ come to Parliament. They can't go to the Minister of Finance. They can only come to Parliament to say, we think higher education must be funded better for the following reasons. And that input would come to our committee. So I'm inviting you, I'm inviting all of you all to say the next budget cycle begins after this in August. In October, we'll table a medium-term budget policy statement. And then in February next year, we'll table budget for 2026, 2027. Come make your submissions. Come, make your plea, make your point. It's your money. No one, government doesn't invent money. It takes it from you and then gives it back to you in different ways. So you come and say what you want your money to do.
Makes sense. Sounds like an interesting group project. And you're in charge of the piggy bank. In nice
some ways.
Primary school.
In simple language, I am the guy who keeps an eye on the piggy bank.
And the
project.
slips. Okay, so I gave you that. What is it doing?
Yeah, sure.
I guess we've all attended class. This was a nice PMG lecture. Thank you so much, Doc. And I think, even just on that conversation of governance. So recently, you actually attended an event here at UJ that was about, the future of governance and public management. Yeah. And so the question then is, when you look at South Africa right now, what do you see as our biggest governance challenges? And where do we even begin to fix them?
I think your biggest crisis I think our biggest crisis as a country is that we haven't defined what our key goals are.
Ish.
And if you're a football club and you walk onto the field if you don't know what the objective of the football match is, which is, score goals and outscore your opponent in this way,
Right.
you can just play for vibes. And I think South Africa's big challenge is that it's unclear about what its goals are. When you ask in government, what are our objectives? They give me, in the medium-term development plan, they give me 31 priorities. Now, 31 priorities are too many.
Sure.
Like that's just too many. What you need is to be able to go, let's say we made our priority the economy, education, and safety. Let's say
Right.
those are the three things. It means your budget funds that. It means everything that you do prioritizes those things. And then you kick out everything else. You stop the fluff. That's what prioritization does. And so because we are unclear as a country what our priorities are, the net consequence of it is that everything becomes a priority. There are just too many things. And so we muddle along because we're trying in some ways to do too many things and we're not narrowly achieving what we want to achieve. So as a result of that, it's meant that, one of my worries is that when people, if I gave you 100 Rand and you didn't know what to do with 100 Rand, you could literally say, I'll buy 100 Rand's worth of sweets because I'm not,
Right.
what is the point of this? And so you end up with a lot of waste, you end up with a lot of corruption, and you end up with a lot of incompetent people because they are unclear what they are supposed to be doing. If in South Africa we said to ourselves, and I'll use a very strong, when I look at police as an example, all of us suffer from crime in some ways or another. There are 65 South Africans who are being murdered every day, so I would think that that's a worry. If that's one of your priorities to fix, well, you'll ask the question, how many more police people do I want? Now, the ratio of policing to citizen is 1:350 on average in this country.
Sure.
But if you go to other communities, so come to Dobsonville, where I grew up, that number is 1:1,200.
Sure.
So when you look at ratios like that, then you say, why is crime increasing in Dobsonville and Soweto? It's because the police are just undercapacitated.
Right.
But if your priority is fighting crime, then you say, actually, I'm going to cut from other things so I can improve that ratio and get more police into Dobsonville or get more police into communities that are vulnerable, whether it's in Khayelitsha, Langa, or Deep Kloof, or wherever else it is.
Right.
So cut. Begin to make sure your decisions are given by your priorities. And that speaks to everything else. If I said healthcare, the ratio of doctors to patients is 1 to 3,000, for argument's sake, which according to international benchmarking, that means your doctors are overworked, tired in the public service. So how do we improve that ratio and begin to bring it down so that we're clear in our heads, actually, we need more doctors. And if we need more doctors, well, we can't have a big cabinet. A big cabinet has cost us an additional 3 billion rands just in security and all of that kind of stuff. So we need to cut there. Or we don't need jamborees. We don't need all of this fanfare that government is involved with.
Right.
But it stems inherently from the question of lack of priorities.
Right.
If,
Sure.
if you don't know the purpose of something, you run the risk of abusing it.
Then we're just wandering for 40 years,
We just
doing nothing,
we're just here for vibes.
moving but not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
Sure.
where South Africa is. So if you look at the last 10 years, our economy has grown at less than 1% on average. So
Sure.
that means that we're progressively getting poorer over the 10-year period. It means that when you look at trend lines, so how many young people, there are more than now 10 million, over 11 million young people not in education, not in employment, not in training. So those young people are floating around. The youth unemployment rate in this country is just at over 67%, which means the probability of a young person getting a job is now 1 in 3. So all of these problems are telling you that this is a country that needs urgent work to try and right the course. And we know that the majority of people who are unemployed only have a matric. So if I knew that, the first thing I would, or have a matric or less than. So if I knew that, then it would be my incentive to make sure more people get through matric, more people get to universities, so that I have a skills pipeline to maximize what I need to do. So these are the governance challenges, but they are born out of the fact that South Africa, if I was the doctor that was diagnosing the South African patient, I'd say learn how to read the thermometer better. Because if you know how to read the thermometer tells me, your temperature is too high, it's too low, maybe think about this, maybe think about that, maybe do this, do that. Once you know that, you can set the thermostat.
Right.
But South Africa doesn't know how to read a thermometer.
So, just in that conversation of education, so
Yeah.
now we're bringing it back home, Dr. Mmusi Maimane. So, what role do you think education, and especially higher education, actually plays in shaping our leaders for the South Africa of tomorrow, really?
Education has an intrinsic value. So what I mean by that is, it helps you be more you. It has that value.
Sure.
I think that there's nothing more difficult than being colorblind in a world of color. When you walk into a room and you can't see things, but others can see them because they've been educated. So education itself has an intrinsic value. It helps us overcome shame. If you've sat with someone, I've interviewed many people before for a job, and you meet the students who arrive there. It's not even about the job, just to ask them some basic questions. And if the person has not just even, like you can feel the shame. And I think education helps bring pride. It helps bring a sense of you are more you, right? That's what a good education does. But there's an extrinsic value to education, which is how do we link economic outputs to an educational concept? So
Sure.
if South Africa's economy was going to be focused on agriculture, was going to be focused on engineering or whatever, then I would speak to higher education to say, these are the graduates we need.
Yeah.
Because part of the problem, and my first degree was a BA in community psychology, right? And the problem with having a degree like that is that it isn't a job. There isn't a job
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
And I can say this because I won't get stoned for it. But you get a lot of students who do their first years, they do a BA in theology. With respect, we don't need more pastors.
Eesh.
With respect, I'm not trying to be anti that. I'm just saying we don't need more pastors. So we can have as many BA graduates come through the system, and I'm not against BA graduates. I did a BA graduate, so it's just that what we've also got to say to ourselves is, let me give you one indicator. The one sector of our economy that has grown is the financial services sector.
Sure.
Right? From a contribution to GDP point of view. Now, yes, financial services are not the highest employer base, but where they've got vacancies in the financial services sector, they can't find the skills base for it because
Sure.
you don't have graduates coming with financial degrees. There aren't that many. So if you're studying an accounting degree or whatever, you start to increase your salary quickly because you can move from company to company to company to company because the demand is there. Now, what we've got to do is think hard about this is what our economy needs and then align the skills base to that, and higher education must produce those skills. Mining and engineering, that has plummeted because it doesn't have the skills. Construction,
Yeah.
it has plummeted. It doesn't have the skills. It doesn't have the economic opportunities. Agriculture is one of the growth areas. That is a game planner. But if you want to do farming, farming is no longer nowadays about let's send you to the field. Farming is about knowing how to work a computer properly so that you can do things like hydroponics, etc., etc.
Right.
That is the new world of farming. Now we need farmers who can do that work. So,
Sure.
so higher education has to help us do that. And then the last thing I'd say is higher education must help government think. You see, when people arrive in public office, they don't spend time thinking about, oh, wait, hang on, I know what developmental indicators are. They don't know any of that. The universities can do research. They can give us research to say, wait, hey, hold on, your health challenges emanate as a result of this.
Yeah.
Fix that. Because public policy must be informed by research. And if you don't have research, public policy fails. And I'll give you one practical public policy failure. In Alexandra, there was a problem of rat infestation. The government thought to itself, no, let's deploy owls.
Hey.
But people don't know how to interact with owls in that community. So what you end up with is owls being killed and rats are going around. It's a public policy
Yeah,
failure.
no.
But it needs research. Someone has done research into
Yeah.
how does urban management looks like.
Right.
All of that.
Skills mismatch half the time.
Thinking. Let's not, who was that? I can't remember who wrote that book, 7 Ways of Highly Effective People. But, they say if you want to achieve something, if you want to cut down a tree, spend most of the time sharpening the sword or the saw before you start the work. Start to think about what am I trying to do here before I just do and hope for
Sure.
the best.
It's interesting, really. And I know, all the nuggets that you're dropping, students are probably leaning into their screens right now. And in case you didn't know, students look up to you. Many young people actually look up to you. And for the young people that are tuning in, do you possibly have any advice, for them? And especially those students that are navigating activism and academics and just everything else on the side and who potentially want to be the next, I want to be the leader of, well, maybe not BOSA, but their own political party. What advice do you have for these students?
Don't quit. Don't quit. Life is going to throw a lot of things at you. And if I'd say anything, don't quit. Don't quit. Critics come. We're all social media. If I spend all of my life listening to what people say about me on Twitter or Instagram, all of that, I have reason to feel miserable all the time. But eventually, just say to yourself, do not quit. Do not. If you start a degree, make it your life's mission, whatever the failures are.
Sure.
I can say now, when I was doing my first degree, I was doing it through UNISA. I had no support. I was hustling. I was trying to work. We didn't have money. My parents didn't have money, so we had to hustle. And you fail. You fail a subject or two, and you hustle. You hustle to rewrite. You hustle to do what you need to do, because if you can help people who are failing forward, but you can't help someone who's quit. You can't do that. Is once you've quit, the enemy has won.
Right.
Concede that point, but don't quit. Just keep going. And that's for me. If there's advice I have tried to live by, is that even in the most darkest and most difficult days, and I've faced many, even in doing this PhD, you try and do it through COVID, your brain, I got so sick, people who do PhDs will tell you it eventually drives you crazy. You become a little bit like, you wake. I used to have to get up like at 2 a.m. and do some work because I was working at the same time. I'm a husband, I've got kids. Yeah, it's a lot. You are tempted to quit. Say, I will do it another time. But don't quit. Don't just get up, keep going. Because, the ones who win are not the smartest, are not the greatest. They are the ones who stick it through with grit and fight on.
Yeah.
Because it's the only way we get there.
Yeah. And I think I'll even add, you're the designer of your own catastrophe, but you're also the designer of your own success.
Sure.
So
Sure.
if you quit, that you designed that.
Yeah.
If you succeed, you designed that. So like you said, keep going. Life is a journey.
I mean, on my desk, I have a picture of Nelson Mandela's empty cell. And I always think about that empty cell, because imagine being locked up for decades, still believing in something.
Yo.
That to me is inspiring, because I'm sure Tata would have been in prison thinking to himself, Amen, we'll never see freedom.
It's cooked.
It's cooked.
I'm done.
But I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm going to die here.
I did my best.
Yeah. But to not quit and to always, sure, there are some things. I mean, you eventually realize I'm not going to become Bafana's captain, so maybe you change course a little bit or you do this. But organize your life in such a way that at the end of it, you can go to your grave knowing, Mphila ga one.
Nah.
Mphila ga one. Necessity do or die. I know that generational. For those of you who don't know Mdu, I grew up under Mdu, quite do. But I know this, the new generation, you listen to other people. I'm a piano.
Moyanos.
Yes. So don't quit. Don't quit.
Yeah, no. And so I think just in closing, we just want to hear from you, what exactly, what should we be looking forward to with Dr. Maimane? Do you have any books and any projects that we should be looking out for, that we should possibly, as the Orange Army, support our fellow Orange Army? And also, of course, any last words that you'd like to leave us with?
I wrote a book called Dare to Believe, and that's been out at Exclusive Books, free advert. But also, I think more than anything, coming up now, I want to contribute to our country. Look forward to me campaigning, going out there to say, we are the ones we've been waiting for. If we elect our gogo nabomkhulu, we deserve leadership that reflects 15 years ago.
Sure.
You and I are discussing AI. Let's stop discussing our gogo nabomkhulu, because we voted for the grandparents. Let's elect young leaders so that we can talk about the future. So that it doesn't become abnormal to think about the future.
Sure.
But
yeah.
those would be my closing words. You will see me fighting hard for this country, and let's bring change. We are the ones we've been waiting for.
Wonderful. Dr. Maimane, thank you so much for joining us today. It is always a pleasure. Again, it is me, your host, Palesa Ramafola, and thank you for joining us on this very special episode of In Conversation with You Journeys on UJTV.